Today we kick off our Unlucky Fucks triple feature with Eli Roth's 2002 blood-splattered epidermal epidemic. The body count is rising, the contaminated skin is shedding, and razors are trimming a hell of a lot more than leg hair as we build up an appetite for pancakes and guzzle down the local water supply to meet a skin-crawling, flesh-eating virus in cabin fever. You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
I'm so surprised that you did not use the word sloughing.
What's the word?
What is that word?
Slough. Instead of shedding?
Sloughing?
What
yeah,
is
you don't know what
sloughing?
sloughing is?
No, I've never heard that word in my life.
I am not surprised that I do not know what sloughing is.
Oh,
What
well,
is
it's
it?
just a disgusting word for things falling off.
Sloughing.
Ew.
Sloughing.
Oh, speaking of weird words falling off and disgusting, I was playing, this is a spoiler, but it's like a week old, I was playing Wordle, and the
Wow.
word of the day was shunt.
Oh,
And it made me think of society.
yeah, the shunting.
Yeah.
What a movie.
I know.
What
It's a
a
good one.
fucking movie.
Yeah,
Solid-
very,
solid
very, LeBron's wearing a
Substancey.
substance
Very
shirt. And
substancey,
very
yeah.
substancey. A lot of substance in that movie.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. Today we are kicking off a brand new triple feature specifically for the luckiest time of the year. But these characters in these movies are very unlucky. This is our Unlucky Fucks triple feature. And we're kicking it off with we should warn anyone who has not seen this movie in a long time, a very problematic movie.
yeah, specifically if you haven't seen it since you were in the 9th grade.
Yes.
Is it bad that I still like it?
Oh,
No, I mean,
No.
it's
Okay.
No.
it's
No.
fun in its own right. It is just, like Zach said, very problematic.
It's a product of 23 years ago.
Yes.
It's very 2002.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
remember our history. We do not, you have to learn from it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is 2002's Cabin Fever, the feature directorial debut of Eli Roth, who, we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and he really has a pretty small filmography when it comes to directing.
Mhm.
Wait, let me guess.
Okay, go ahead.
Hostel?
Mm-hmm.
Did he do Hostel too?
He did Hostel 2.
Yes.
Okay. Knock
Uh-huh.
Knock.
Uh-huh.
House with a Clock in its Walls.
Uh-huh.
Wow, good.
Borderlands.
Uh-huh.
Thanksgiving.
Got that one.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
The Green Inferno.
The Green Inferno.
Yes.
That's right.
And,
And that's it.
when we list them off, it's still a good number of movies, and he's so prolific.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of movies as an actor and stuff like that. And so I just felt like his filmography as a director was a lot larger, but
He also
Um,
hosted that show for a while.
Oh, Eli Roth's History of Horror.
History of Horror. Yeah.
oh, his
That was
podcast.
really fun.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
love a horror doc series.
Mhm.
And Thanksgiving was probably at least his second best movie, if not the best movie he's made, I feel like. But
Yeah.
That
Sure.
might be my favorite Eli Roth movie. It's so fun.
It's the
Yeah.
one I'd rewatch for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
Okay,
Laurent, you and
yeah.
I specifically are huge, and I'm not to say that Casey and Zach are not, but you and I have had a lot of conversations separately about the Scream franchise.
Yes.
And it is
Yes.
very Scream, inspired.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting another.
Um,
I guess there were leftovers.
There were
Yes.
leftovers.
So-
Oh, in our episode, we discussed some. So I won't spoil it here, but in that episode, we have some theories about what might be going down in the second one. So we shall see.
Yeah. Guys, but before we get any farther, we were talking about the things that fall by the wayside when you become a friend of the How I Met Your Monster podcast.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're just like part of the family, and we forget to introduce you to the rest of the world who is
Wait,
listening.
everyone doesn't know me? No.
So, you guys, today we are joined by our friend Laurent Chapman, an Oklahoma City filmmaker. The last time we chatted was on your podcast with Caleb Masters, the Cinematropolis podcast. We talked about Maxine.
Oh yeah,
We did.
Yeah, that was fun.
And I think
So
the last time I was on your podcast, or I think it was the first time I was on your podcast, was Candyman.
yeah.
We did
That was an
Candyman,
early episode too.
and
It
then,
was early.
Yeah.
is that the only time you guested on?
No, Lauren's also been on for Screamathon.
Well, yeah, but an
That's
actual
right.
episode.
An actual recorded episode. Yes,
yeah.
I think.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming back. And before we get started, as always, if you're not subscribed to the show, please find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you find your horror podcasts, and hit the follow button, the subscribe button. And any reviews or ratings you can give us are absolutely just very helpful because that helps us reach a larger audience. So in other news, we have a fairly new Patreon where you can follow us, and we have some fun commentary episodes, and we'll do some member shout outs, and you also get access to our first 50 episodes. So find us on Patreon, patreon.com/howimetyourmonster. Now, with that being said, Laurent, you are joining us, obviously, and you are a huge Scream fan, along with Danny. At the time of this recording, we recently found out that Matthew Lillard will be rejoining the cast for Scream 7.
And Scott Foley. Yes, thank you. What are your initial thoughts on that?
I am extremely nervous.
Okay.
Because I was not part of the bring Stu back train that the internet was forcing.
I am part of this bring Stu back train.
You are part of it?
Casey
Yes.
steered the ship on that one.
There are two camps. And the thing is, if they do it, they'd have to, I don't know how they could do it cleverly, but
what do they do cleverly at this point? No offense, but it's all just throw them in there and see what happens.
I gotta go. I do not share the opinions of this podcast anymore.
I don't hate the movies, but
I have two theories of what I think is going to happen. One, because Kevin Williamson is directing and this is his baby, the opening scene, the opening kill is going to be Maureen Prescott, and we're going to do a flashback of Roman overseeing Billy and Stu's murder of Maureen.
Sure.
And she's going to get the phone call. It'll be the whole Ghostface thing. And that will set up our reintroduction is, I'm using that loosely, to Sidney Prescott. Second theory is, since Scream is always kind of playing with, it's nothing if not on the nose in terms of like the zeitgeist of when it's released and when it's written.
Sure.
And what is big right now, but AI and deep fakes. So what if this killer is a very tech savvy killer and is trying to throw people off by using deep fake technology and like similar to like previous movies where they record the kills, where like people will find these videos of these murders, instead of wearing the Ghostface mask, it's like the killer from the past.
Sure.
Or they just use their voice, like maybe Kevin Williamson adds a little bit more realism to that insane voice changer from part 3,
right,
where maybe they can use digital AI technology to mimic the voices of past killers to throw off Sidney. So it's literally like her past is coming back to haunt her. But then in a roundabout way, because they're so tech savvy, it lends to the solving of the mystery. And then Sidney and co are able to better figure out who the killer is.
I mean, I like those theories.
Yeah.
I just hope they're smart enough to use them.
It's just going to be like, I'm back, baby.
I'm back.
That's it. There's no explanation.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have kept it a secret if it was going to be that way.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, he comes back with like scars on his face, like Chucky, like
because of the TV.
Well, I also feel like if they're announcing these in this big prominent way, because it's really Scream is notorious for like being airtight. You're not going to know anything about it. You know, like so for them to like announce it, it means it's going to be used in a way we're not thinking. You know, because that's how I feel. Otherwise, yeah, like why would you?
Totally, that's 100%.
But overall, to answer your question, though, Zach, I'm just very nervous because for me, it has a good winning streak. It's the most consistent of all the franchises. Horror franchises. I feel like not all of them are perfect, but there's at least continuity. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we went here and then we went to a different timeline and then we're jumping all around and now we have new characters, and it's starting to get that way because of external forces. You know, like because we obviously lost the Carpenter sisters, which is so sad for me, but because we finally got to liking them, because in 5 I was a little like, I don't know how I feel about the new cast, and then 6 I was like, okay, I'm in for them, and then now it's kind of a smorgasbord of things, because now we're bringing the twins back, we're bringing 2 killers from franchises. It kind of feels like, what are we doing?
It does. There is the one. It's not the one bit of optimism, because I am fairly optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. But as far as the movie bringing back Mindy and Chad, and then also bringing back Scott Foley, it does give me like a breath of, it's like a relief, because it's like, okay, we are acknowledging all of these chapters, you know, for better or worse, whether or not they put it to good use. Yeah, it doesn't feel like, God, if we have to do another retcon in a franchise, I'm going to lose my mind. But so this is, that's the one glimmer of hope that I'm holding on to. Can you hold on to glimmers of light?
Yeah.
In this economy? Yes, we
Where'd you find a glimmer of light in it? Wow.
Okay, well, yeah. So I opened a can of worms with that. This is not a Scream 7 podcast. This is a Cabin Fever podcast.
But people do scream in this movie. So.
They do. So yeah, we're talking about Eli Roth's Cabin Fever. Danny, Casey and I were talking, and you don't know this, or you might know it, but maybe you didn't realize it. Cabin Fever is a very good soft opening, if you will, to Detroit Rock City.
Okay, so I only know this because when I was doing some cast research on IMDb, I noticed that Winston is in Detroit Rock City.
Oh, not only Winston.
Who else?
James DeBello. Bert
is also in Detroit Rock City.
Oh,
Bert.
I actually remember him from the trailer. Doesn't he have long hair?
Yes.
In Detroit. Okay.
Yeah. Laurent, we've been trying to get Danny to watch Detroit Rock City for 5 years.
I won't do it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you should watch it. You should definitely watch it.
That was just on principle. I just can't do it.
And, you know, we were trying to get you to watch Detroit Rock City. And then I said to Casey, I was like, hey, there's some problematic language in that movie that maybe Danny wouldn't care for. But now after watching this, I'm like,
fine. Totally
it's a
fine.
cakewalk. Like, you'll
totally
be fine.
The thing is like having, again, like growing up in the time, being like a young teen, like when this movie came out, you do kind of become desensitized, and numb is maybe a dramatic word, but I'll just use numb. You become numb to some of these words and the way these words are used. So I'm not gonna lie, I called stuff gay all the time in 2002. Yeah, I'm not like,
it was common. It was,
you know, like surface level offended. I'm just like, oof. It's more like a wow. I forgot.
Wow, I'm such a healed person. Wow. Who was I 20 years ago? I'm glad I've changed.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of like it's about self-awareness than anything. It's like, wow, we really come a long way.
Yeah.
But no, but I appreciate you highlighting that and pointing that out. You're such an ally, Zach.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah, and now you can watch Detroit Rock City.
But yeah, watch Detroit Rock City.
Yes.
So, Eli Roth actually got this idea for this movie when he was in Iceland working on a horse farm.
Cool.
It's weird. And he got a skin disease, and when he was shaving his face, he started peeling away. What did you call it, Casey?
Sloughing.
Sloughing?
Sloughing.
Sloughing.
Samsonite.
was way off.
Like SLUFFING.
No, SLOUGH.
Ew, that's even worse, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So he sloughed his chin.
Sloughing, shed or remove a layer of dead skin to get rid of something undesirable or no longer required.
That's so gross.
Watch this be next week's Wordle.
Sluffs. There you go.
And you know, a cool thing about the music in this movie, the score was by Nathan Barr, who did things like Hostel, True Blood, and the recent Salem's Lot remake.
Okay.
But there were 3 music cues in this movie that were written and performed by, I'm going to butcher his name. I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there who are going to be mad at me for this. Angelo Badalamenti. So he was the composer for almost all of David Lynch's films from Blue Velvet.
That makes so much. So I'm watching the Twin Peaks series for the first time, and I just started season 2. Very fun. And thank you for pointing that out, because when I saw the name pop up in the credits, it was driving me crazy. I was like, why do I know this name? It's because I keep seeing it in the credits for Twin Peaks.
Yep. And he did the Twin Peaks score. He also did music for Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Okay, hell yeah.
But yeah, I guess like Eli Roth, Angelo, and David Lynch were all like friends. They all like knew each other. And so he just like went to Angelo and he was like, hey, will you write these pieces of music for me? And he was like, absolutely, I will.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we should say rest in peace, David Lynch.
Yes.
You will be missed. But Angelo wrote Deputy Winston's theme and the love theme, and also like one called like Red Dream or something. But when Deputy Winston is on for the first time and his theme is playing, it's like really subtle, but it's very like Twin Peaksy. It's like kind of, and then also the music when we get the famous fingering scene.
I wish I knew this before I rewatched it last night, because I would those moments would have tinged a little bit more.
Lauren, you're gonna have to watch it again.
Yes. God, okay, fine.
I mean, obviously this wasn't a first time watch for anybody. Did we all see this in the movie theater?
No.
No, I rented this with the fellas back in the day.
Okay.
With my buddies.
Was Blockbuster still here in
2002?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
2002.
Yeah, because I started working at Blockbuster in 2004.
It's hard to know when the rift happened between that and
it wasn't until like 2010.
2010. Okay.
Yeah.
Then this is definitely something I probably rented. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm the only one that saw this in the theater. Casey, when did you see it?
So this was like a regular movie for Cree. Like all of our friends would go to Cree's house and watch horror movies, and this was one of our regular rotation movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun movie. Like, yes, it has its problems,
weird.
but it's fun to watch as like a group with a group.
It's so weird.
You remember when MTV? Yes, we do. They used to do those like audience reaction, like out of the theater, kind of like, oh my god, like I was just kind of. They still kind of do those now, but it's not MTV. It's like other things. But this was one of them I remember, and I remember the trailers for this movie coming out, and it was like when I was like really into horror movies, and this was like they were like touting it as like one of the scariest movies you're ever going to see. And then I remember seeing it the first time and like really hating this movie because it was not what what it was being marketed as.
Sure.
But in retrospect, I also wasn't very smart then. So so I feel like the satiric, not that this movie is like just so smart, but like but it just I didn't really campiness and satirical undertones didn't quite register as strongly as if they weren't like on the nose they were in Scream, But in retrospect now I look at this and I'm like, I'm not convinced this isn't like a straight comedy with just gross shit in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's just a really, I mean, Roth is has such a dark, gross sense of humor, so I feel like he would find morbid things humorous, so not that there aren't tense moments in this, but
no, there's like a deep self-awareness there.
Yes, for sure.
That you see in all of it. I mean, even a movie like Hostel, which in its own way is sort of like a commentary on the way we treat violence on film, like the idea of being a spectator and what does it mean to enjoy depravity and gore. Yeah. And this, he's already kind of, dipping his toes in that a bit. Where it's like, we know. Because another thing to your point is like, even the main cast, I forgot like how surface level horrible they are.
Oh,
to
yeah.
the point that it's like, oh, they're designed to be horrible. They are they are an extension of all the movies that Eli Roth clearly loves, where it's like they are the archetypes.
Yeah.
To a point.
That's what, like, back to Laurent's point, I still thought this movie was funny when I was younger, but I didn't understand the characters in it. And I didn't understand the stereotypical people, you know, and we talked about it a lot in Thanksgiving too, because it does the exact same thing in Thanksgiving with all these characters that are, you know, taken over the top as far as their stereotype goes. So yeah, watching it again now, I understood all of that a lot more, and it made me like it more because it's so funny.
So Eli Roth is a filmmaker, a horror filmmaker who's in on his own joke.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still like trolling also, in a way.
Yeah.
You know,
and then also, but then also make sure to make it satisfying for a horror fan at the same time, which is very much in the realm of like a Scream. So,
well, you know, you talk about the comedy and all that stuff. The deer at the end,
oh my god,
where he hits the deer and the legs are going in. When they were filming that, the crew and like the special effects team was like, "This is ridiculous. Like nobody is gonna like this." And he made a point that he said, "This is an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. If the audience is still here, they're in for it. Like, they're in they don't care. They're gonna love it."
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that was I was like, "Oh yeah, that's spot on." Yeah.
And that's one of the best scenes. It's so
funny. Oh my god, it's wild.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But he was turned down by like everybody in Hollywood for this movie.
Really?
And he finally found a producer, Lauren. Shit, I didn't write down her name, but Lauren something. And she actually, what sold her on the movie was the fingering scene, right? Because she was so excited that like that is a scene for women. She was like, people are going to love this because their husbands and boyfriends are going to be so grossed out and they're going to be like, you know, this is for them. So that's kind of what sold her on it. But everybody turned him down, and then they debuted, I think, at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was the last showing of like 300 movies, right? And it was like a rush. They didn't have like everything there, and they had to like hurry up and get it promoted and everything. And then when it finally hit, there were lines around the block to see it, and all the companies that had turned him down for producing it were fighting over buying it.
So funny.
Wow.
And then while they were at Toronto, they signed a deal with Lionsgate to release it, which back then, like in 2002, Lionsgate was like big in with horror because like of Saw and all those movies. So okay, well, let's hop in a truck with some overexcited college graduates, maybe. They're excited about finals being over. Like, who was she yelling to when
that kid? It was a kid. She was like screaming at him, and he's like not reacting. I can't remember. She's like so happy to be like. I can't remember the line.
Well, she tells him, she's like, "Don't go to college. It's a scam."
Yeah.
I feel like that kid is supposed to be a young Eli Roth, like deciding, like, I'm going to make a movie about people like you, and you're all going to die. Really bloody deaths.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, I have my giant glass of water too. So
nice. In a cup, like a mason jar, like they were
massive.
Like you got it from the river.
Just drinking some old, fresh, not even river water, just like flat lake water, reservoir water.
Yeah. Stagnant water.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Okay, let's go to the woods. Okay, so for Cabin Fever, we have, how many reveals do we have? We have 8 official monster reveals for Cabin Fever with, you know, as we usually do, we have a few honorable mentions scattered throughout. But before we get started officially, this is my pick for our Unlucky Fucks triple feature. And so I'm going to read the synopsis from IMDb. 5 college graduates rent a cabin in the woods and begin to fall victim to a horrifying flesh-eating virus which attracts the unwanted attention of the homicidal locals. The homicidal locals part seemed to be like a small section of this movie. I enjoyed it, but that synopsis kind of makes it feels like it's
that
more
implies that they are like the central antagonist.
right.
Yeah.
I did enjoy when they kind of get involved, though. It kind of just.
But what's in that box?
I know what's in the kit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my gosh!
Wait, what box? Did I miss the box?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you missed
you
the
did.
box.
What's in the box?
he has the tiny little box, and he's about to open
When
it.
he
and then he
says-
gets
Yeah.
killed.
When he says they have a disease, they gave it to Dennis, and he's like, "I'll go get the kit." And he comes back and he's carrying this little box, and then when they're all getting killed by Paul, he like struggles to open the box, and that's when he gets the screwdriver in the head.
Well, isn't
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
funny that Eli Roth would become very close creatively with Quentin Tarantino? And he also has in Pulp Fiction the box that is never with the insides that are never
That
revealed.
nobody knows.
What
Yeah.
if this is
the same box.
Oh my god,
Casey? Are you setting it up?
Casey,
No.
is this yours? Are you gonna take it?
No,
She knows something we don't know.
no, I just shit on their conspiracy theories every time. I hate their conspiracy theories. So you guys go for it.
Oh, we're going for it.
Mhm.
It's the anecdote. It's what's inside, but they never open it. So
Laura, no, it's more complicated than that.
okay.
I'm just kidding.
Damn
That's
it.
definitely what it is.
We're doing it. It is time for the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week.
Hit it.
Oh my God, Danny's puking up blood.
Oh no, get the kit.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the President of the United States with an earthquake.
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can like just throw himself on top of. The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bet. Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis. This is our third issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
All right, so is the movie Cabin Fever, does it exist in the same universe as the universe in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction? Because they both include boxes that are opened, but never, that have insides that are never revealed to the audience.
I think maybe the kit, whatever's in the kit, was in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Oh. So maybe Pulp Fiction is about preventing this flesh-eating virus from spreading.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that's it.
That's it.
Oh my God. Okay. Is it Frank Whaley? He plays Brett.
The one who's with the burger.
Who bought the burger? He's the one who stole the case,
Mhm.
which is the antidote or whatever to the
Mhm.
flesh-eating virus. He's not drinking water. He's drinking Sprite because he knows
deliberately
that the water is
is
contaminated.
contaminated.
But the water
Yes.
wasn't contaminated until they killed the guy.
But why would they have the kit? So maybe there's something that they put like the kibosh on, every now and then. They've got to like kind of stop it in its tracks.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so yeah, we figured it out.
Yep.
You did. I
Great,
think
that
you
was-
guys
Nailed it.
figured that out.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. Finally, a conspiracy theory of the week that actually is confirmed. Good
Uh-huh.
job, guys.
Confirmed. Yeah. Great job. Good game.
So, okay. Our first monster reveal is the opening of the movie
Yeah.
with the hermit, who we'll get to know is named Henry.
Henry.
Henry? It
Henry.
wasn't Henry, was it? Oh, he knows about the ordinance.
that's
He
neat.
wouldn't have bothered you.
This first reveal, you don't even have enough time to type in doesthedogdie.com
Right.
before the
No,
dog
the dog is
dies.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not only is it dead, it is, I hate it so much. I literally
Yeah.
forgot that this is in the movie. And I'm sitting on the couch with my dog, like taking my notes, like all like, and then I'm just like, oh, I remember this. I don't like it. And
You're
I
like, Brewster, don't
couldn't
look.
look away. And I snuck one look, and it was right when Henry opens.
Uh-huh.
Like, how does he not know it's dead? Don't lift the legs like that.
Yeah. Well, like Brewster, your dog has like that droopy kind of face. Just like that's just the kind of dog he is. And you're watching it and you look over at him and he's looking up at you like, really?
just disappointed.
Yeah.
This is fucked up, Dad.
But what's going on in the inside of that reminded me of my favorite childhood, I wouldn't say snack, maybe it was a snack. SpaghettiOs. It's just,
What the fuck?
it's just so like,
But are we
Ew.
talking meatball SpaghettiOs, plain SpaghettiOs, or the hot dog ones?
oh, there were hot dog ones.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, God, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die.
Hey, I've never eaten SpaghettiOs in my life.
SpaghettiOs.
Well,
oh my god.
They were my
Well,
favorite.
Listen, I was poor as shit, but my mom did not buy us SpaghettiOs.
That's it. It's just the texture of the tomato sauce. It was giving me that.
It's very infected dog guts.
Was it when you let it sit and it kind of congeals?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
you start to wonder, they're getting in the movie, all of our characters are getting it from the water, but this guy, he opens the dog and it like squirts at him.
Mm.
So is it like a organism? Like what shot out of the dead dog?
I have a lot of questions about this virus, and maybe it's something that you guys can explain pretty easily. And I'll wait until we get there because it's actually about a dog in a different scene.
Yeah.
But I'll hold off. But I have some questions about what this virus does.
Well,
like where
Danny,
it comes from to me is like I can't even. Who knows?
What it needs is clear. I feel like it needs another. Like it's just very like it comes at you, so it feels like it has to spread. It needs a host. It needs something else to come.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dog right now, because that dog, and I think you're referencing like the scene where it's like POV of the dog and it's red.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So later in the movie, there is this, I think it's like a German Shepherd or it's a mix or something. And it shows up.
Dr. Mambo.
It's Dr. Mambo.
What is it?
Dr. Mambo.
Dr. Mambo.
His name's Dr. Mambo?
Danny, did you watch this movie?
You guys, yes, but I don't know. You guys are retaining information of such a specific level that I'm frankly jealous.
No, it's Dr.
He's
Mambo.
Grimm's. It's Grimm's dog. Dr.
Grimm.
Mambo.
Eli
Okay,
Roth's
so that
character.
explains everything. So for whatever reason, my brain was not, registering that. I think it was confusing though, but like Grimm had the same type of dog as Henry, so that is where like things started conflating and confusing me. Because I was going to ask, there was a part where when the dog showed up and was super aggressive later in the movie, the one who ends up, what's the dog's name?
Dr. Mambo.
Dr. Mambo. So when Dr. Mambo shows up,
Danny,
Nope.
It's not Dr. Mambo. It's Dr. Mambo.
Dr. Mambo.
Dr. Mambo shows up.
Yeah.
I thought that was Henry's dog. And I was like, oh, these are zombies. So you get this flesh-eating disease and then you come back because the dog had like red eyes. So I was like, my brain was just connecting the dots to this dog. I was like, oh shit. Then we're going to have like this army of like flesh-eaten zombie things that are like stronger than they were when they were alive. So that was where, and obviously that's an oversight. It's an easy fix to just be like, that was Dr. Mambo. That wasn't the other dog. That's where like the movie was like, wait, because then, I was like, why is the dog so aggressive? Because then I was like, does it make you aggressive before the flesh starts being eaten? There were like little questions.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world. Just, where do you, Zach, I feel like you have a thought or maybe an opinion on that.
I don't know if it's an opinion, but I was kind of up in the air with whether the dog was like possessed or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to do that to anybody else, like make them aggressive. However, that was not the original dog that was cast in the movie. Originally, they shot a full day with he was like a black, not a pit bull, but some kind of maybe a pit bull mix or something, but it was black. And he would not do what the trainer was asking him to do. All he wanted to do was play with the actors. He just wanted to run around and lick them, and like he wouldn't run, and it was a mess. So they wasted a whole day.
He was not menacing.
Yeah, so
they didn't waste a day. That's a day well spent.
That's right.
Yes.
So he was not menacing, but this dog that they did get at the last minute was so menacing that he couldn't be in the same scene with actors.
Yeah, that scene where Marcy gets eaten and shredded, that's her real foot. That wasn't supposed to be. That's her real foot. Yeah. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah, they had to have like if you go back and watch it, it's like anytime the dog is like being vicious, he's not shown with anybody.
Oh,
because they had to have like the trainer with like all this armor on as the dog like attacked him because he was just too menacing. Yeah.
Wow.
Going back to your point though about like the virus not making people aggressive, I mean, I think it did in a way. Remember, they all tried really, really hard to get help and stuff like that, and animals can't speak. So I think it could be similar in the vein that like he wants somebody to help him, but he, you know, what else is he
doesn't know how
supposed
to
to
do it. Yeah,
you know?
That's a great point. Okay.
So he's like,
and they don't listen. It's like there's kind of a like it's a primal need to like, you know, they're like get back, don't come towards me. And every time they continue to do it and get closer and closer. And if they were consciously themselves still, they might not, you know what I mean? They might hesitate.
They would understand the severity of the situation and be like, you're right, I probably shouldn't come near you because you're going to get sick too.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what you would do in a situation like that. One time, actually, I was working in New York and I had to take all this stuff back to a storage shed that was like in the middle of Manhattan, and it was like 6 floors up.
You've told me this story, I think.
And while I was doing it, I was by myself. It was the production company's storage unit, and I cut myself, and it was like this small little hallway, like lights were flickering. It was very much like a horror movie, and I cut myself on something, and I'm bleeding everywhere, right? And so I have my hand wrapped in my sweatshirt, and it's just like covered in blood. And there was a dude there that came down the hallway, like lights flickering and everything, and I'm bleeding, and I'm like, I need some help.
Help me.
He literally was like, stay back, don't come any closer. And I was like, I was so shocked because in the moment I was like, dude, I cut my hand and I need like some assistance. And he was like,
yeah, but he doesn't know who you are.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like like looking from his perspective, it makes sense.
He just heard from like the dark hallway, like someone like,
he's like, I saw this movie.
walking
You get
toward
back from me.
him. Yeah.
But from my perspective, I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I need some help. But anyways, I was like, can you just like watch this unit here while I go down? And he was like, stay away from me. Anyways,
I equally feel so sorry for you in that moment, but that is such a funny story.
Yeah. At the end of the story, I went down to the bathroom. I got cleaned up. The lady at the front desk like gave me a Band-Aid or something, but it was like more than
a Band-Aid.
I needed stitches.
And then you killed that guy.
I was gonna say, and then you went back upstairs
but
and
no,
you said, see, dude.
He was downstairs and he was like, are you okay? I was okay.
Well, I am now. No, thanks to you.
Yeah.
I hope that guy that didn't help you is having the day he deserves.
Amen.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, just to say, I never did get hired by that production company again. So,
well, yeah, because you're fucking over here scaring people and bleeding all over the place. So unprofessional.
Chill out, lady. You're scaring us.
Okay. In our second official reveal, the man from the Dead Dog opening, which we know as Henry, he meets Bert in the woods, and Bert is so the kids have gone to the cabin. Bert is such a problem.
Bert is awful.
First, he's going around with this gun that he says is just a BB gun, which is clearly not a BB gun.
Well, first of all, he stole from that little store.
Oh, yeah. He stole from the store, yeah.
After they bought a bunch of stuff.
A whole Snickers.
A whole Snickers bar, yeah. He's like, what would make you want to steal a Snickers? He's like, the nougat?
Which you're not wrong, but also...
Yeah.
Bert was the hardest character for me to digest because there were times where he was like, there was like this weird, dumb innocence about him that made it funny. But then there were times where he was straight up like abusive. Yeah. Where he would just like scream at someone like, shut up. I was like, oh my God, calm down.
He was also the smartest person there.
Yeah.
He was also the only person that understood what was happening right away. And that they had to, and that they had to isolate.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
It was just the way he handled it was not great.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he was horrible. He was the dumbest person and the smartest person at the same time.
Yeah. And speaking of that opening, or not opening, but the shot of them going to the store, and also about Eli Roth and like taking all the films that he loved from his childhood and putting them kind of little homages into this. We'll see a lot throughout the movie, but the song that plays when...
Can I guess?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Is it Deliverance?
No. Close. It's called The Road Leads to Nowhere. And it plays as the truck is driving up to the store and like they're listening to it on the radio or whatever. It was from the Last House on the Left soundtrack.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it was just a fun little, nod.
And what is Last House on the Left but Deliverance in a I confused. I was going to say in Virginia, but it's Virginia where Deliverance is.
Okay,
I
yeah.
biffed it. That's okay.
Yeah.
We get one biff.
Smaller scale too.
Our second reveal, he meets Bert in the Henry meets Bert in the woods, and you start to see he's like his flesh is not fully like we'll see him later, and he's even worse, but it's starting to like kind of just peel off a bit on his face,
Slough,
and he's slough.
And Laurent, you think it's maybe the virus that is kind of?
I feel like their attitude changes. Like, like you mentioned zombie, but they're not zombies. But it's like
a parasite.
Yeah,
like they want to subconsciously spread it almost.
Yeah, like it feels like they have to get to. It has to get somewhere else. It needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what parasites do. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that I mean, I'm not. We're here to count, not criticize. But if I were to criticize, I would say maybe that would have been a fun thing to explore a little more of like what this thing is
for sure.
and how it works. Just even if just like a line, just something.
Yeah. It definitely kind of just happens in this. There's not a lot of commentary on why or what the rules are of the virus. It's just a thing that's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I think this is a comedy. Because
100%. Yeah. Like we're not here to explain or inform.
If you think about being in this situation, you wouldn't even, I don't know, like, well, I don't think you'd have those kinds of thoughts anyway. You would just be like, what the fuck? How do we get out of here?
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting movie to watch, especially since we watched it in around like the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And then to watch it in this like post-COVID world that we're in, where we know what it is like to be in a pandemic, where, when it comes to Bert and Jeff, I think his character's name, where the idea of like social distancing, or Jeff putting the mask on, Bert wanting to social distance, these things of like, you start to maybe you would have seen them as, and they are hateable characters because the way they do, it's their approach to things that is what is flawed.
Yeah, they're extreme.
Yeah, that's a great way to. They're very extreme, but there is like this weird understanding of like, oh, I thought you were the character I was kind of rooting for. Actually, I think you're the bad guy because I know what it's like to be in that situation, and you're the kind of person that would have driven me or has driven me insane.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all horrible in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, when Jeff goes back to the cabin at the end and he's got his face covered with his cloth, and then he's still in the cabin that's covered with blood, and he takes it off and he's like, I made it. It's like, dude,
that's not
keep your
how
mouth shut.
viruses work.
Yeah.
That is such a funny scene.
Yeah.
You don't just because you're the last person in your group that to catch it doesn't mean you then default to not. It's like the virus dies.
Yeah.
Because you won.
But I remember like seeing this in the theater, and like when he does that, like, he is a jerk throughout the whole thing, but you never expect him to like be so thrilled that he survived and everybody else was dead.
Yeah. They're all I don't even, and their reactions to people dying, it's totally like not, like they don't seem to care when like the first person dies.
No.
It's like what was it? Yeah, we said his name is Henry. Like, I mean, they don't really have like a collective like. Well, so you know what I mean? They don't really care as much.
The only one that does is Karen.
That's true. She freaks out. Yeah.
Paul.
I think she's the least problematic in general.
Yeah. Because there's one line in that Karen says that it always stuck with me, and it pops in my head more often than it probably should. But she says,
"Okay,
that man asked for our help. We lit him on fire."
And Paul's like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah. And Paul's just trying to get laid, and he doesn't care.
And I think that's the frustrating thing is the kind of the character who's sort of pulling us through this whole movie is Paul, of course, played by Ryder Strong for all you Boy Meets World fans, Mr. Sean Hunter. I literally went to bed with Boy Meets World on last night. Like it's one of my, I have a rotation of a few sitcoms that I have before bed. That is one of them.
Nice.
Danny, are we the same person?
I think so.
Are we the substance? Are we one?
Oh my God. We are one.
We are
Don't forget it.
No, I didn't watch it last night, but that's what I go to sleep to. So I put on episodes of Boy Meets World because I know what's going to happen and it makes me happy and I go to sleep.
Yep. It has it's Boy Meets World, Bob's Burgers, Golden Girls, and I feel like there's another one. But that's the trio that I have. That's the main.
Okay.
The Holy Trinity. I was going to say something about Paul. Oh yeah, I guess especially compared, like when we talked about this like post-COVID world, that like we happen to be following this guy who really we're kind of, by the rules of just basic character development, is he should be someone that we root for or like can relate to. He's so awful.
Yeah.
And I think the whole like idea of relatability or like this assumption that we should is because he is someone like we know him as like a Sean Hunter, like a sitcom actor, like he is but he is so horrible in like little ways that I'm like, how did I miss this the first time? Like whether it's with Karen or it's he's very selfish, he's very just blasé. It's just, I'm here to have a good time, but he does it in such a pretentious kind of way where it's like, I'm above like these idiots, I'm just here to have a good time. But in reality, he's the worst of the bunch in my opinion. And the amount of times I wrote in my notes, God, I fucking hate Paul.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did Karen really like him? Did Karen actually like him? Because she's like avoiding him like the plague. Like every time he's trying to like show some kind of affection towards her, she's just like, hee, let's jump in the water.
I think Karen's just here to have a fun time, and he is just all about like, this is my story. This is I want to fall in love. But really, he doesn't. He's just selfish because the first opportunity he gets to have sex with someone else, he takes it, while the woman that he claims to love is literally rotting away in a shed that he locked her in. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as a woman, the reason that you probably didn't notice back in 2002 that he was horrible as far as like his actions towards Karen is because growing up as a teenager in the early 2000s as a girl, I wasn't taught that any of that was wrong. Like that wasn't, I was never told that like that, that's like guys flirting with you. That's okay.
Yeah.
That just means they like you.
Yeah.
Well, then it's perpetuated in movies like this, the way they depict it, and through the main character. It's like one thing if Bert was doing that, being like gross.
Right, but at the time it wasn't problematic because women weren't taught that it was problematic.
Right.
It was just how guys were.
Just like her reaction to it. Don't be gay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You think we're on her side.
Exactly.
No one comes out looking good in this movie.
No, they really don't. Okay, so number 2, Henry gets shot by Bert.
Oh, trucking right along.
Number 3 is Henry again, but now he's meeting the whole group of problematic teenagers.
Henry's really leading this movie, which I didn't think about. I forgot like how big of a presence he has. But
oh, poor guy.
I know.
He gets it pretty bad.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So he comes to the cabin and then he tries to take their car and starts like puking blood all over the inside of it. And which we've mentioned before, they light him on fire and he runs away into the woods. And they're like, the rain will put him out. It's fine.
Yeah, like when they see him trashing the car, my instinct would be, guys, lock the doors and windows. Like, let's stay inside. There's clearly like this insane person outside. Yeah. The only thing that's going to happen is someone's going to get hurt. So like, let's call the police. Whatever's happening to the truck is already happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah. Let him take the truck.
I mean, I understand at that point, but I don't know. But they push him to that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a scary situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Jeff gets mad at Paul for hitting the truck.
Yeah.
And Jeff is the one who shattered the window.
Yeah.
Do you ever just want to like strangle people because they're just so irritating? Everyone.
Jeff is in law school. Remember? So he's like shiesty.
I love in the beginning when Dennis bites Paul, right?
Yeah.
And Jeff says something like, if that was to bring about a lawsuit, and he does air quotes on lawsuit, and I was like, why?
Like a lawsuit is pretty straightforward. It's a lawsuit.
Like, what are you implying with the air quotes?
Did you notice and he was like, so you should probably put a sign there if your son's going to bite people. And then later in the movie, there is a sign there.
It's so good.
But Bert doesn't sit next to him when he comes up.
Yeah, pancakes.
Dennis just gets up and starts doing karate.
That is also true. Yes.
Oh,
and then he bites him.
We are jumping around, but like, that has made me wonder if what role Dennis plays in this community. Like, does he know
so
they're
weird.
infected, or because he doesn't seem to be affected by the infection? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
Is
he
Dennis
there's
the
no-
root of the infection?
Dennis bites him, and then like you realize like his eyes get big, and he was like,
Oh, so
I
he's
mean,
like,
I don't like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But then the shop owner is like, the people at the cabin have a disease. They just gave it to Dennis. We need to stop
Yeah.
him. Go get the kit.
Oh my God, I'm answering
Yeah.
my own question that I've always been confused by.
Okay.
At the end of the movie, I thought it was just like a weird fever dream kind of like reference to The Shining when Paul is on the gurney, I guess.
Oh,
On the
yeah.
When he's
gurney?
being pushed down the hallway and he sees this giant rabbit with holding pancakes.
Uh-huh. He's feeding him to Dennis.
That's just Dennis having like someone dress up to like comfort this troubled boy and giving him this thing that he clearly wants.
Uh-huh.
That's like his final, like so Dennis is like about to die and that's like his final meal.
Pancakes.
That took me like 23 years to figure out. I finally, right? It's just, it's not
Yeah.
cerebral or strange. It's just
weird.
Pancakes
literal.
is a good way to go out.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it
agree.
might be. I think it's meant to be weird. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
meant to feel that way, though.
Yeah.
I think you're maybe not meant to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But right, that makes sense though, right? Like he got it.
I mean, none
So
of
now
it
we're
makes
seeing-
sense.
I
Like-
mean,
Like
yeah.
when hospitals, like they dress up as like clowns to like
Oh,
comfort
sure.
children.
I mean,
Okay.
I think it probably actually is a reference to The Shining, but
Okay.
yeah, it's probably like actually happening, and he's getting pancakes from a giant rabbit.
I hope if I'm ever on my deathbed that you all just show up around me in ghost face masks.
Yes.
You know,
With pancakes.
Just feeding Laurent pancakes.
just feeding me pancakes in ghost face masks, please.
Oh man, pancakes sound so good.
Okay, well, we do get a couple honorable mentions that we'll just kind of breeze by real quick. We get Henry dead in the water, and we see that now he is the one that's contaminating the water supply because we follow the pipe as it goes into the cabin and we see it out of the faucet, which Paul is about to give to Karen.
Paul's awful.
Paul's
He
awful.
didn't do that on purpose. It's inadvertent assholery, but he's still an asshole.
Yeah, but she was sleeping and he woke her up and she was sleeping.
Yeah. He sucks.
Leave her alone. She's sleeping.
We're going to get back to that later in the show. But Bert and Jeff have gone to look for help, and they come across this lady who is butchering a hog. I guess is still alive, hanging upside down, and that's just disgusting.
Yeah.
But we see that the hog is infected, and so we counted that as an honorable mention because the disease is spreading.
More flavorful,
Mhm.
but not good for you.
Yeah.
Nothing like infected bacon.
And now in our fourth reveal, which is commonly known on the set of Cabin Fever as the finger bang misfire.
I love it.
This is so gross.
Yeah.
There was a common, at least for me, it was a common misconception that he was actually doing that. And then he just got like the blood from her thigh on his fingers.
Mhm.
But I guess according
His
to
finger in that flesh.
Eli
hole.
Roth, he's fingering the wound, thinking
Yeah.
that it's her vagina.
Which makes you wonder if he's ever fingered a vagina before.
Yeah.
And no shame if he hasn't, but
Yeah, it's giving very virginal. Like,
Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
Everybody's
he's
different.
like having, you can like see it in his face, like, I didn't know this is where it was. This was an inner thigh situation.
Everybody's different down there, okay? Not all vaginas are the same.
That's true. Some are on thighs.
Somewhere, yeah.
somewhere on thighs. Okay.
But yeah, this is our first like real reveal of one of our main cast getting the disease. And
It's gnarly.
so he's got it on his fingers. He runs over to the sink to wash it off, and he sees that she has already like spit up blood everywhere
Yeah.
on the sink and mirror,
Yeah.
and it's just gross.
No one likes to clean up after themselves in this movie.
Apparently not. And they
Yeah.
then they just proceed to lock her in there by herself. And she's like,
Uh-huh.
"Don't leave me." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, girl." It's like, it's
Yeah, why not just lock her in her room if you're worried about?
Well, at first they
Yeah.
do. At first
Oh,
she is just in her room, and then they move her out to the shed,
the old shed.
the old tool shed.
Is this movie just a commentary on what it's like to live in America, where everyone is just so selfish, and at the first drop of a hat of like something bad happening, it's like, you're no longer one of us.
Isolation.
Yeah, you are isolated. We banish you.
Mm-hmm.
When really it's like, we're the United States of America until it's inconvenient, and then all of a sudden it's like, you're the enemy.
Yeah, I think that's a really intelligent read of this movie. I would not give Eli Roth that much credit, but I think yes, we can read it that way.
Okay,
totally.
Is this the smartest movie ever made?
Yes.
That's our final consensus.
We do get a nice Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage.
I made the same note. Yes.
As Marcy is looking for help and she canoes her way across the lake, and as she walks up to the house, the camera is low on her ass as it's like walking, and it's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And guys, now we meet Deputy Winston, played by Giuseppe Andrews, who I have to say is just a weird dude.
He's so weird.
He gives Officer Doofy vibes from Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's good at his job.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about Giuseppe Andrews, he has like totally embraced the stereotypical trailer park lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So he was in, as we mentioned earlier, he was in Detroit Rock City with James DeBello, and the director of that, Adam Rifkin, made a documentary about Giuseppe Andrews called Giuseppe Makes a Movie. And
what?
So Giuseppe has had like some roles in like smaller or in bigger movies, but smaller roles.
Never been
back
kissed.
in the 90s. Never Been Kissed. I think he was had a small, tiny role in Independence Day.
Oh yeah.
But like since 2015, he's just been like gone from the public eye. Like nobody knows where he is.
Huh.
But he's made like 70 short films and like acted in them and directed them, and they're all just like with his little trailer park community of people that are a little weird, I guess, quirky, and they just make these little movies, and it's very strange. But yeah, Deputy Winston is just so interesting. He's all about partying. He's like,
he loves partying.
When I party in Wambusa, I always get pussy.
Yeah.
I mean, Laurent, you had said like this is not the type of movie maybe that can be dissected because maybe there wasn't enough, to quote your shirt, like substance within the storytelling to kind of warrant dissecting it. But like, I'm just going to say, usually I try to understand things and characters and plot devices. I'm embarrassed to say I don't understand the character.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get, I just don't get it. I'm not mad about it. I just don't get it.
And I think with a lot of these movies, like, I'm not giving Eli Roth credit that he set out to make the movie to have the really smart think piece conversation that we're having about it. But that doesn't mean that those things aren't there subconsciously, because sometimes like things are commenting on things that we're not even aware of. And then later on we realize, oh, that's why I made that movie, or that's why I wanted to say that thing. I didn't think about it at the time. So, which is why retrospectives like this are fun, because we can dissect what was happening in 2002. Lots 100%. Of racism and misogyny, apparently. And homophobia.
For sure.
We completely glossed over fucking old man Cadwell in the opening scene with that blunt racist comment that he makes.
Is it when he says, all the foxes in the community will be down here?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. They introduce him as this like, talk about a quirky character. You kind of love him, and he's like so like silly and his mannerisms, and then things take a turn, and thankfully our characters show their one semblance of human decency is to take a cue and be like, let's get the fuck out of here.
The shop owner, what's his name? Old man Caldwell. That was
Cadwell,
Cadwell. He's coming back later in this episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
He is a character. Like underscore bold italicized.
He somehow surprisingly bookends the movie in the strangest ways. If you're listening to this, you have seen it and you know what we're talking about. But really
Deputy Winston and you're talking about like you don't understand him. Which I understand
I don't get the joke of the party. Is he just supposed to be so like cut off from the world, that he's obsessed with like the outsiders who visit. And he literally just wants to party. And I'm like looking too deep into it.
He's just like a
corrupt
small town kind of, but you know, we were talking about the music earlier, Deputy Winston's theme, which is kind of like Twin Peaks-esque, you know, and Eli Roth was friends with David Lynch. And I wonder if he's just like, that was kind of in his mind when he was developing the character, maybe, where he's just like in Twin Peaks, you said you're watching, it's like the log lady, right? Like, why is she carrying a log, right? Like, she's just kind of goofy. I wonder if that was just like a weird character.
Because the reality in Twin Peaks is like, it's just left of center. It's our world, but not quite.
Right.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
So I wonder if that was maybe part of it. I don't know. Just a thought.
So he's the log lady of the Eli Roth cinematic universe.
But when he rides away on his bike, it reminded me of Ralph from Friday the 13th, right? On his bike.
Oh, that's wait, is Ralph the son of the woman the local?
Ralph is like the doomsayer in Friday the 13th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you're all gonna die. And then he rides away on his bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the truck is all covered in blood and dented. And then he just looks at it. He's like, man, they really did a number on your truck. Like, I'm going to get a tow truck up here. It's like,
and then he doesn't.
He doesn't. Nope.
Then he doesn't.
Nope.
He's like, oh, my bad, man. It's like, really?
He said, I called a tow
so
truck and that tow truck broke down. I had to get a tow truck for that tow truck.
And then I just went to the party. It's like, oh, God.
The party of them just like sitting around drinking beer. It's funny.
I mean, you're from a small town.
I get it.
That's how it went.
I get it. Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, let's jump to our fifth reveal. This is Bert now has caught the disease because he had made a bet earlier with Jeff that he could only drink beer for the whole time during their trip. He now drinks water during a confrontation in the room, and Paul calls him out and says, oh, you just lost the bet. And that was like, you know, seeing this for the first time in the theater and being like, you know, it's in the water. And then he drinks it and you're like, oh, you just lost the bet. And you're like, oh, no, it's such like a little.
But what's annoying is they were already leaving. God, oh, my God. I need to not be so annoyed by these characters so that I can like hold like a normal conversation. This was the easiest out for them. Just put Karen in the bed of the truck so that she can't infect anyone. Drive the car, put on a mask, wash your hands, a little Purell. But Bert should have just told them, hey, guys, I'm sick. I'll go in the back, too. Let's get out of here as soon as possible.
That's what Bert tried to do in the first place, and they wouldn't listen to him.
But then when
that is what he tried to do originally.
Yeah.
That's fair. I guess my thing was I was annoyed that once he's sick, he starts to be a bit of, or at least he seemed like a, what's the word? When you do something against a hypocrite.
A hypocrite.
Yeah. And it was just frustrating because it's like you're all
politics
leaving. Yeah.
Oh God.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a commentary on America.
No, I get it, but there has to be one. There's always that person in an outbreak movie
who hides it,
won't admit that something's happened to them.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be Bert, but
Mekhi Phifer, Looking at You, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. Oh, I just rewatched that since it came out. I just rewatched it like a couple months ago. It's pretty decent.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. But yeah, even like he gets in the car and Jeff's like, "You don't look so hot," and he's like, "I don't feel too hot either, but like I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
And he goes to town and gets bit by Dennis, the pancake boy, and.
I didn't even understand the logic of putting her in the back seat if you're all going to be in the car and you're trying to avoid it because you're in like a hot box of just you're just it's not, the air can't go anywhere.
They have a pickup. They have a whole back. I don't get it.
But their back is also open.
Yeah, it's like there's no
like
not back window. It just kind of opens up.
I see what you're saying.
The back seats are open.
I get that. Yeah. Just drag. What's that, Casey? The house that Jack built. They could just tie her up to the back and drag her.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
God.
one of the most upsetting things I've ever seen.
Perfect.
So while
David Bowie.
Yeah. But yeah, so while Bert is headed to the town to try to get help, Paul is sleeping with Marcy, right?
What
They what a very obvious way to shoehorn in another sex scene in a
Hell yeah,
in a
dude.
gross out
That's what the
teen
kids
horror
want.
movie.
And not that there's
Yep.
anything wrong. Like, we don't kink shame on the show. We don't sex shame or anything.
Yeah.
But they were kind of setting up Marcy as sort of like a subversion of the character they had introduced, where like she just seemed like la da da, like kind of flighty. But then she sort of like takes charge. She's like, this is what's going on, yada yada yada. And then in the span of that like moment, she's like, "Don't you just want to like fuck?" And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I probably would. But like, not that I'm kidding. I would not. I would be too. It's too gross.
Yeah, you're too anxious for that.
Yeah, no. I just like, why? It just felt like such like a.
Well, that's
I
like,
don't know.
I say it's like shoehorned in because like her excuse or her reasoning for doing it was just so. I was like, what?
But she's also accepted that she needs one more thing before she dies.
She's really horny. Yeah.
God. And then, Paul goes and pours the Listerine on his dick.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Wait, do you guys not normally
Like,
do
I never
that?
heard that one, but I wonder.
Oof. Ouch.
Sounds painful.
Yeah.
Horrible.
So now we're going to jump to our sixth reveal, which this is Paul falling in the water once he
I
finds
love it.
the body, which, okay.
I wish you guys could see my notes because it'll just be like a bullet of like what I want to remember what happened. And then like I do like the little indented bullets of like little things I want to touch on. And every time it's Paul, it's just Paul is infected. Paul finds the corpse in the reservoir and then falls in. I hate Paul. I hate Paul. I hate
Zach, I have a feeling that you're going to say, who would do that?
Well, yeah, like, yeah.
I would do that.
Why
if
did
there was a dead body
but not
in the
like
water?
who would do it, but like, why did he do it?
Yeah.
What was the point?
I think he wanted to see if it was him because he wanted to see if he was burned. I think he wanted to see if it was the guy that they set on fire because his face turns over and he's charred.
Yeah, I guess that's
what would have made that effective more is like if he hadn't just like had sex and like been kind of like not, if he had been so riddled with guilt and like needed to know, that would have made that moment feel like, oh, of course he's gonna check. He hasn't.
He found a dead body in the water and he's like, shit, we lit this guy on fire the other day. I wonder.
Yeah. That is before he realizes that that's the reservoir that like their drinking water comes from, because that's after he falls in the water. He sees it.
Right.
But I remember being in the theater and he's doing that. He's climbing down the ladder and he's doing that. And then the top rung breaks and the whole theater, it was like one of those like experiences in a theater. The whole theater was like gasped and they were like, oh my God, like he fell in, like, oh my God. That's just, and he's thrashing around. And at that point, it's in the water. And so you're just like, well, you're fucked. Because you think he's going to be your survivor, right?
Yeah. Sean Hunter.
I also just can't swim in lakes. Like I used to. I mean, we have.
Oh, they're so gross.
We have them now. We have them here, and like I have them now. They just got here. I used to go camping, and I used to not think about it at all. But now, in hindsight, I would never get in water where I cannot see my feet in them.
Absolutely,
it's so gross.
I think I may have. This isn't really a story, but I think I may have mentioned this on the show. Where years ago, I was on a lake and I went out on a little like those are like donut like rafts.
Oh yeah,
and I just like float out, and it was so serene and beautiful. And then all of a sudden, I look over and I'm like in the middle of the lake. And I just I look down and it's just dark. And I was like,
you freaked out.
I was like, oh my God, I need to get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, literally just aggressively. So I was like, there's definitely just like a fucking alligator just like right underneath me waiting.
Yeah. I've done that in the ocean because you're like, you have your back to the shore and the water's just like carrying you along. And you're just like, just living out your own life. And you turn around and your parents are ants.
Yep.
Behind you. And you're like, okay. Yeah. Don't have a panic attack right now because you will drown.
Oh, that's scary. That's scary. Yeah, I'm right there with you. If I can't see beneath the water, it's like, nope.
Oh, I hate it.
Paul fell in the water. Okay, guys, we are on our second to last reveal. This is reveal number 7. Marcy shaves her legs.
This is what everybody knows about this movie.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I have the DVD, right, from 2002. And the DVD menu is her leg.
Her leg.
And as she shaves it, like the play scene selection stuff, like it pops up as she's shaving across it.
I remember that. Yeah, that's funny. It's great.
That's what I watched it on too. So that is hilarious. It's not on streaming anywhere, so it's like,
yeah.
I assumed it was going to be streaming because I'm so old. It's like on Tubi or something, but no. It's like, well, let me pop out that dust off that little puppy and then put that on.
Yeah. Well, I was going to watch, there's 5 commentaries on that DVD. And I was like, okay, I've seen this movie a handful of times. I'm going to watch it with the Eli Roth commentary. So maybe I can get a little bit more insight. Yeah. He opens up the movie during the opening credits. He's like, hey, this is Eli Roth. This is my commentary. I'm not sharing it with any other filmmakers or actors. He's like, they can all fuck off. He's like, this is, which I found out later that he did do one with them, but he's like, this is mine. I'm not going to use this commentary to tell you about every scene and how we did it and all this stuff. He's like, I'm just going to tell you about how I got Cabin Fever made and the movies that inspired me and everything. I was like, I don't really want to hear it.
You're like, that's not what I wanted.
Right now.
It's not what this is for.
Right. So I turned it off.
That's a featurette.
That's a bonus feature. Yeah, exactly.
So did she know while she was shaving her legs that it was infected and she was just like,
she's crying and she seems all dour and like, I'm like, why are you doing that? You're making it worse.
Right. And then like all of a sudden she jumps up and starts like showering and trying to get everything off of her.
Well, we've established that they're not really in their right mind.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So who knows?
And she goes out and just gets mauled by the Dr. Mambo.
Yeah, she gets fucked up.
Dr. Mambo.
Yeah.
Dr. Mambo. Which I forgot how many quotes my friends and I used to say from this movie. Like we used to say Dr. Mambo all the time, and we used to say, Henry, you get the kids to say, she calls him Henry. Is Henry in the store?
Henry?
Does she say Henry? We always said Henry. Are we mixing two things?
He says, go get the kids their sandwiches. They're out there in the
back. They're all wrapped up. So we used to say that to each other all the time, my friends and I, just for no reason.
And like, it's so 2002 when Grimm is on there, at the bonfire, and he's like,
and we
say, faced, scratch moded.
What? We used to say, just, this is like the most random stupid. We say, oh yeah, it's about, what does he say? 15 minutes away. If I hurry, I can be back in 20. Like, why did we say that to each other? I don't know, but we did.
That's so funny. It's just the little things that are so fun. Yeah. But now Paul has kind of gone feral, right? He shoots Dr. Mambo.
Thank you.
I almost didn't say it like that, and at the llast second.
I know it's a rule. We cannot say it.
How else can you? If you don't say that, you're not saying it.
And now Bert is being chased by the as the IMDb would call the homicidal locals, and he gets back to the cabin and he tells Paul, like, they're coming for you, man, like whatever. And so he's they have like a little plan where he sits in front of the door and shoots him. And
yeah, and I guess Bert has a slight redemption arc, doesn't he?
Yeah. He kind of says like
he sacrifices himself.
Yeah. He knows he's just a goner, and so he's like, I'll do whatever.
To Bert. Let's raise a glass to Bert. What a guy.
Let's do it. Thanks, Bert.
It's so funny because I had nominated Bert for another category that we're going to say later, but after review of this, I've decided that someone else might be this person.
But when his head blows off, right? Like they used like a air cannon thing and splattered all the stuff on the wall when making the movie. And James DeBello, who plays Bert, got to hit the button and splatter the guts. So that was pretty neat. So yeah, Paul has kind of gone feral. He kills all the homicidal locals. He steals their truck, and on the way to wherever he's going, he hits the deer, right, which we talked about earlier, and the deer is kicking its legs. And he comes across Deputy Winston again and the party, and he's the party man.
His self-fulfilled prophecy of going to a party.
Yep.
Where he pulls up, my bad, I didn't get that tow truck for you.
Yeah.
And I totally wasn't going to do anything about it afterwards. So
yeah. It doesn't like run to the radio to like rectify it. It's just like, oh, dude,
I moved on.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, the guy on the radio is like, there's these kids out there that are infecting everyone. They're armed, shoot to kill, and he's like, I don't want to ruin the party, and so he's like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's how important it is.
And then some of the party goers like try to attack Paul, and the one dude like swallows his harmonica. It's like, it's so funny. And then of course, Deputy Winston's like, you fucking idiot, you ruined the party. And yeah, that was our 8th and final reveal, was Paul ruining the party,
puking up some blood.
Then he gets to the hospital, and they start to kind of say like, well, we don't know what caused this. The sheriff's like, I'll take care of him. He gives him to Deputy Winston, who we'll find out later just dumps him in the woods. And we get like a very like Night of the Living Dead ending, right? Because now Jeff goes back into the cabin and he had survived and he's all happy. And then glorious day, he comes out, he's celebrating, and then he just gets pumped full of bullets. And then they burn the bodies, and very Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And, you get the kids getting like the water in their Gatorade
The lemonade,
cooler to make lemonade. And like Paul is just a few like 100 feet away in the stream, just like maybe not even that far. But it's a very like 70s style ending. You got like the townspeople all drinking, and then you get the water truck driving away that says like this disease is going to spread. And you get old man Carruthers, what the fuck's his name? Cadwell. Bringing back the rifle thing, and he has his friends that come in and he gives them the rifle, and it's a whole
Laurent, your letterbox review of this movie made me laugh so hard.
What did I say? I don't
You
remember.
were like, hold on. Oh yeah, I wish I should have had it up.
I have a question about why do you think he says, I think there was another one in the basement?
Oh, yeah. Winston, this is the thing with Winston is he does two things that puzzled me. It was mentioning something about the basement, which, what? What do you mean? We've never seen the basement.
I don't know. I thought of the Evil Dead.
Yeah, like maybe there was. That would have been a cool twist. Like maybe there is something there.
Yeah.
But then also Winston confounded me because...
But you didn't understand him at all to begin with.
No, and like, and maybe it is like, maybe it's the Twin Peakiness of it, but like they burn all the bodies to contain it, and he's kind of in on it. You know, he's at least present there mentally there to be like, oh, I have to shoot on sight kind of thing. But then he just tosses Paul in the water, like as like, I don't know. It just like, it didn't.
Yeah.
I get that like there might be like a lack of logic, but like it's so illogical because he was literally in the previous scene just actively like, let's burn the bodies. But then to just kind of casually, it's almost like he's punishing his people because that's going to affect the town.
Yeah.
I think he like, to that point, he's just so like at the beginning or the middle when he's all about partying, man. He's the party man. And he looks at the truck and doesn't notice like all the blood all over it. And he's just like, man, like he just doesn't care because he's all about partying. He just wants to party.
He can't think about anything but partying.
I'm just overthinking it. Yeah.
My name's Rod and I like to party.
There are two types of people in this world.
Those who like to party
and those who
those who burn corpses alive.
Yeah. But Danny, let's hear let's put Laurent on the spot here and let's hear his letterbox review of Cabin Fever.
This was in
I'm nervous. I don't know what I would have said. When is it dated?
That's the thing, it's not saying it. Usually it'll say it on
okay.
Wait, maybe if I
guess I can look too.
It's September 13th, 2021. You just wrote a 90-minute black joke. I'd be offended if I wasn't so impressed.
Okay, there you go. Yes. I had rewatched it like I said, like 2 or 3 Halloweens ago.
Okay.
During October, my October rewatch of horror movies, and because I haven't seen this in a long time. What do I really think of this movie? And now I just remember like, wait, was this all this was? Was this all, like? It's like to end it here is such a weird choice.
Yeah.
As like if I'm thinking,
it's
of
so
this,
specific.
It's so specific. It's so like underscored. And it's definitely a callback to something that happened in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So it's like, was this whole thing just trolling us? Is this like, again, is this just a comedy and like with gross shit in it because it's Eli Roth? But so I kind of that's kind of how I read that.
And it is like on paper, just by definition, a subversion of the character because it sets up an expectation and then it,
it's something different. Yeah.
So maybe maybe Eli Roth was way more. Now we could argue about the execution of things, and that's, I think, subjective, but whether or not he was or wasn't like aware of the kind of like the world he was creating, it seems so unspecific when you think of someone like Paul, who's like this Twin Peaks character, and then you have Winston, but then Paul is kind of like the archetype of a hero, but then very much is not. So maybe there is something where it's like nothing is as it seems, but
sure.
I guess I'm struggling to like the sum of its parts kind of thing. Like, what does it all add up to? What is it ultimately trying to say? And I think, and I'm not saying that's a fault of the movie. That's a fault on me, on my read. But that's what I would like to. I need to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah. It just like, obviously you couldn't do that now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it feels like the kind of thing, like, and that's why I said, like, I could be offended by it, but I think at the time I probably thought it was hilarious because we were in that time, that again, in my 20-something year old, I mean 23 years in the past, would have been 12. Wow. Yeah, I would have found that very funny, because it's also that era where, again, we were just using offensive language very casually without any recourse or any kind of, like, there was no policing of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And even some of those things spill over into the Scary Movie, like, where like it's the cultural appropriation sort of thing. They're there. It's all there. So, I mean, I didn't think he meant any malice behind it. It would be offensive today to do it, but, like, in the same way that, like, Tropic Thunder is hilarious. Not a single black person was offended by Tropic Thunder. He's never been canceled for playing that character because it was actually a character.
Nominated for an Oscar.
It was actually a character in a movie, and it was done with some affection. But I understand that today to do that would be, like, with the cultural block, we're aware of things.
Like in Tropic Thunder, it's like it's a commentary on the way, like, actors go so far to do something that ends up ultimately being so offensive. So whether or not the execution works, it's like there was an intention there.
Yeah.
And then in Cabin Fever,
that's why I think he's unscathed, because other people who have done it in the past, it'll come back to haunt them. Whereas Robert Downey Jr. just won an Oscar 2 years. Last year, I think. So, it's fine. I find it funny. I think funny in the context of when it was made. While also saying that, this is, like, deeply problematic if, we looked at it from a modern lens as we are now.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Even something like Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks still went on to have a career, and, like, he's still regarded as, like, a legend and all this stuff. And it was that time, and it was, it was saying something at the time, like, it was clear that he was shining light on something at that time. But
Eli Roth clearly had black friends to be able to do something like this. If he didn't, then I would be like, wait a minute. It's like, so.
Yeah,
totally. And the intention was to be shocking, whether or not that is acceptable.
Right.
It's the fact of the matter was it wasn't. The intention was muddled. Yeah, but it was coming from a place of comedic effect rather than, like, I'm here to be hateful.
Denigrate these people. Yeah.
You were talking about subversion earlier, and that's part of it too. Like, from in the very beginning, they do that, they say that, and then at the very end, it changes.
Yeah,
and also as a reminder to be like, what did we just watch? What am I supposed to take away tonally from this movie?
Yeah,
I think there was probably a better way to start that because obviously when he says it first, the first time, that's for then it's like, oh. Okay. That is offensive. And then, like, then later on, it's like, just kidding. Actually, I'm cool with these people. And it's like,
you spend an hour and a half thinking
he's a racist. And really, he's, like, cool with them, And it's like, I feel like there was a way to probably do that scene without using that word.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, where it's like, that's for the black people, or that's you know what I'm saying? Like, that
it's played so casually, and to know that, like, Eli Roth, who's just this, like, white dude, wrote that and directed it, and it was, like, Jewish. On set, just like, this is cool, like, we're good.
And that was the time, 2002, that was the time in all the comedy movies where it was funny to get, like, old unsuspecting people
to say the word,
being, like, hip, like, when he comes in at the end, they're, like, giving each other high fives and stuff, and he's, like, speaking that way. It's just, like, that was, like, people thought that was funny back then, to, like, have an old person being, like, hip with the times.
Again, the opening of Scary Movie 2, when they're doing with the piano,
and The Exorcist.
It's there. It's
you know what?
Yes, doing a rap song. It's all there.
Exactly.
And then there's even, like, the hot chick, if you remember that, with Rob Schneider. There's things like, it's like they find ways to it was everywhere, basically, and no one was offended by it until we we got enlightened and we're like, oh yeah, this is actually probably degrading.
Scary Movie was made by black men.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. Like, I was very much like in my own little bubble at the time. So like, even though I may have been aware, like, oh, like the joke's here because the point is to be offensive in some way, even though it is also trying to get a laugh. I wasn't in a scenario or a situation where I was like, obviously like directly affected by it. So I was like, oh, but then, you know, you grow up, you move out into the world, you meet people and you're like, wait a minute. Why are we even doing this at all? Like, this is so fucking like upsetting. And
to your point, Casey, you're probably right. Cause I probably had a sense of comfort with the Scary Movies, knowing that it was the Wayans brothers doing it. Kind of like when I'm with my family members where that word gets thrown around, like, like it's just, it's not used in the same way in those safe spaces that it is out in the regular world where you're just unsure how someone's using it and what context. Are you mocking me? Are you, you know, or are you one of those people, you know, like, so that's another thing too. So it's like that whole word is interesting in history. I just think the whole documentary on that word just is it's the most complex, like, inflammatory word, and I think in the English language, I don't think there's another word that creates the same visceral reaction. Like even like words like cunt or bitch or whatever.
Cunt.
They just don't. They just do not carry the same like weight in history because there is such a history and evolution of that word, and it has many meanings. It truly does. But but anyway, So the ending is interesting to look back in a retrospective way. So
and the fact that he chooses to bookend it, I think, is the most is the strangest part of it too.
And a real brief side note, the Wayans brothers are coming back for a new Scary Movie. So that's exciting.
If they're not bringing back Brenda and Sydney,
I will lose my mind.
I don't want it.
All right. Well, guys, that is Cabin Fever. That is something. Now it's time. Now that we've gone through our official reveals, now it is time to select our favorite reveal in Eli Roth's Cabin Fever.
What's going on here? I don't see anything anywhere. That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
Speed round recap of our official reveals, not including honorable mentions. Number 1, the opening with the dead dog. Number 2, Henry meets Bert in the woods and gets shot. Number 3, Henry meets the rest of the gang at the cabin and pukes in their car. Number 4, the finger bang misfire. Also, Casey's alternative title, the flesh hole fingering. Number 5, Bert coughs up blood and tries to hide the fact that he's infected from everybody. Number 6, Paul falls in the water. Number 7, Marcy takes a bath. And number 8, the party man ruins the party. So, Danny, let's start with you. And what is your favorite reveal in Cabin Fever?
I mean, it's got to be Marcy. Okay. It's just the one that I literally looked away. I couldn't watch it. So, which is saying something. But
yeah, it's funny how like watching it at the time when it came out, it was like gross, but you could watch it. And now that we're getting older, it's like, I cannot stomach this.
It's awful. But so memorable. And like, it's that thing. It's like when you think of a movie, what is the first image that comes to your mind? It's the legs. And then it's Karen is her name.
Karen,
blonde. Yep. Her face when it's
like the teeth and like it's like a melted away skull.
Those are like the two things that always, I guess, in the harmonica too. But I'm gonna go with Marcy just in purely out of memorability.
Okay, all right. LaRon, what's your favorite reveal?
Because that was so etched in my mind, I was kind of anticipating that one. But the one I had forgotten was the finger bang misfire. So
okay, sure.
For me, I'm gonna have to go with that being just because I had forgotten it. I guess I erased it from my memory. I think baby gay LaRon just it's
A woman getting
like,
fingered.
Ew.
way far away in the recesses of my mind. It was like, nope, we're not going there, and this is why.
What is he doing to her?
What is he doing? Literally, like, what is happening? Why is it so squishy? What's happening? You know, so
Squelch.
and that's the thing, is you're hearing the sounds while it's happening, and I'm like,
God.
and then I immediately, now grown LaRon knows exactly what's happening, and I'm just like,
yeah.
oh, and I'm like, I'm not waiting. I'm not anticipating. I mean, I'm not wanting to see what's about to happen with his fingers, and so of course, and it's way worse than you think it's going to be.
Yeah,
it starts off gross, and then the cover gets revealed, and you're like, oh, it's even worse than I thought it was. So, but it's also very gross and creative. So
sure,
yeah.
Casey,
same as LaRon.
Okay,
I like it because it's not just. Because it fucks up like him, you know what I mean? Like, because it's not just one person having to experience like when she's shaving her legs and stuff. Obviously, it's disgusting, but she's by herself, you know.
Yeah,
it's not some unwitting man about to have his day ruined.
Yeah,
so
or his life ruined.
Yeah. He thinks he's about to get some, but he's about to get something else, you know.
He's getting sun.
Yeah. So my initial instinct wants to go with Paul falling in the water, because I remember being in the theater and being so shocked by that. And you know, and to LaRon and Casey's point, the finger bang misfire is the first time that we start to see. I mean, we've seen it a little bit with Henry, like puking in the car and stuff, but starting to see like how this disease is going to be like goopy and like kind of just like stringy blood, and it's just nasty.
You know, if the subtitles say squelching, it's good.
But from just a purely memorable reveal, which, like, you know, kind of being like, what is the best reveal in the movie? I think it's got to be Marcy shaving her legs in the tub. So, lots of good stuff in this movie, but that's the one I'm going to officially go with.
All right. So we went with the top two, like, most memorable.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay. Well, now it is time for a segment that we like to call The Real Monster.
Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
Casey, do you want to start?
Yeah, you know what the funniest part is? I don't have one. I think that there was just too much going on.
Sure.
It's Eli Roth. Eli Roth is the real monster.
No, I love Eli Roth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love Eli Roth, but I guess yes for this. Yeah, I mean, he could be for sure, but no, there were so many, and you know, usually we do something funny, but there were also some serious ones in this movie with with the dialogue and what have you. But yeah, I don't know, Jeff's hair. That's what I'll go with.
Okay. Yeah. LaRon, do you want to go next?
So I initially, like I said, at the top of this episode, I had Bert, just because he was just such a doofus the whole time.
Doofus.
But in retrospect, Casey has converted me to saying that he's actually the smartest of the dumbest people in this movie, at least in terms of decision making.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's, you know, the one that's kind of driving things. So I'm going to X him out and say that Ryder Strong is actually, Paul is actually the real monster in this.
Sure.
Just because he's a terrible person. And I just think that, and I think it's most egregious because I go to sleep to this person to comfort me.
Oh, yeah.
That I hate his character so much in this that it's probably just, that's really what it is. I'm just biased because Boy Meets World is comfort food for me. And then also Winston for like not getting the toe I'm really upset.
I know. You brought it up like 5 times.
I'm very upset about this. It's like,
follow through, Winston.
Do your job. It's like, you know.
Well, that's the easiest thing he could have done.
Right. Just the simplest thing. And the reason for not doing it is just inexcusable. Yeah. So those would have been my 3, but I guess it's just my 2 because Bert came unscathed.
with Winston, I feel like, at the end he does say, I sent a tow truck and that broke down and I had to send a tow truck for that tow truck. I feel like that was just a bullshit excuse.
Totally.
Yeah, like, he didn't do any of that.
He's walking it back.
You pull that out of your ass because that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Okay, I've got just insensitive language in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
I've got Bert. I do agree with you, Casey. Bert, for a few things, calling squirrels gay in a derogatory fashion. Maybe some squirrels are gay.
Well, squirrels are gay, Zach.
Great.
It's actually offensive that you're not.
I know, but then he says gay or straight, I'll kill him. I don't care.
That's what I've been told. I told they're gay rats. And everyone loves it. The saddest thing is, like, everyone hates rats. Not everyone, but
I love rats.
Most people hate rats, or they're gross. And then you put a furry tail on them and they're like, oh, they're cute. They carry the same diseases that rats do, but make it gay and everyone likes it.
It's true.
I'm here for that.
But also don't call them gay.
Yeah.
And even like, going back to the insensitive language, like in that same exchange, you get gay as a derogatory word, and then you get Karen saying the R word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I can't.
I think I blocked that one out.
Oh yeah. She says, don't be a,
mentally
handicapped.
Oh, okay. I got you. Cool.
But back to Bert. Okay. Calling squirrels gay, not knowing how to use binoculars, right? In the very opening, when they get to the cabin.
Oh, how he's staring at
Jeff
them through the window.
And Marcy are having sex, and he's staring in the window like a foot away, and he's got the binoculars, and it's just so funny.
Oh, it's funny.
And then for him almost starting forest fires, he just like sets that ring of fire outside of all the rocks and then walks away. Okay, I've got two more. I've got gutting animals because that's just disgusting. Paul for sexing up Karen while she was sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very rapey vibes.
It's very like, it's very like on the fence. Like, was she awake? Did she know what was happening? Or was she sleeping and he was just taking advantage? And that was not cool, Paul.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
But so those are my real monsters for Cabin Fever. Danny, what do you have?
Paul. Just like
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
Paul. I think also I was just so surprised by how much I hated Paul. Like, hated him. Everything about him was just like certain qualities and people that just drive me nuts. But also everyone in this movie I thought was a real monster.
Yeah.
Two things that Paul does that drive me nuts is Paul for giving Karen the water. Mm-hmm. I know he didn't know it was going to cause this fiasco to happen, but it did happen, and it was because he was like water pushing her.
Yes.
So for that. And then Paul for being a peeping Tom, which we do not support on this show. And we have driven that point home quite a bit, specifically on our peeping Tom episode. When he's just like watching that woman in her bedroom, trying to just enjoy herself, do whatever the fuck she wants to do, naked in her bed.
Yeah.
And then again, he's always playing the victim card and like crying follow. And like the guy's like, you're fucking spying on my wife. And he's like, no, I need help. It's like, Paul, leave. You are horrible. Like, if you really wanted help, you would not have been distracted by this. His priorities are a mess.
Right.
And then my last real monster in the movie is Eli Roth's bald cap.
Oh,
in the flashback. However, I have a question. In the credits, that character is credited as Adam Roth.
Oh.
So is that just like a fun little like, it is Eli, but he just wanted to make it seem like it was someone else?
I don't know.
That is.
I was a little confused.
But it would have been a great thing to say in the commentary that he didn't provide on the DVD.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not what his commentary was for.
No.
This is true.
The bald cap is, and maybe, I don't know if it's just because like now we're in the world of high definition, but it was distracting.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Good real monsters, you guys. Now it's time for our final segment, which is probably going to be a fairly straightforward one, I would assume.
Yeah.
But I can't be too sure. Would you survive cabin fever?
And here we go.
No, I don't think I would.
No.
I don't think Either I would have got it there, or like we see that the truck has getting the water from this fresh spring, quote unquote fresh spring, and it's taking it and distributing it.
Ew, it was like
I would have got it some way or another.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I first of all drink way too much water.
I
I'm
drink
always
a lot of
carrying a jug around with me. So like one way or another, I'm going to drink the contaminated water.
Yeah,
I would have had a fuck moment. Like, you knew about it, then you forgot about it, and you're like, oh.
But I'm just so thirsty.
Oh,
I
shit.
just can't help myself.
Well, you die without water, so
That's true.
That's true.
you're dead either way.
That's fair.
Damn.
Yeah.
So true.
And does that mean that anything that they make water, like, does that mean that everything will kill you? Because basically everything is like
boil it
90% water.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
You could decontaminate it.
Yeah.
But can you? Because I'm sure that thing had a filter in it.
Yeah.
What thing?
Like they had the pipes that were coming from the reservoir to the cabin. There had to have been a filter in there. They're not just drinking unfiltered, dirty lake water.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it needed to go through a few more processes. To
You need like one of those little caplets that you can get at the store for when you go camping. Put it in the
I
water.
don't know.
It's brought to you by Brita Filters.
Yes, Britta, please sponsor this
They're strong.
episode.
I think outside of the water bit, yes, we probably all would just die. You're right.
Oh.
After COVID, and really before COVID, I was a germaphobe.
Yeah.
And when I say that I over sanitize things, that my hands are probably raw from Clorox wipes and things like that in my house, I would be the first person to like, everyone get out of the house. I'm getting ready to.
Yeah.
And then you're in this corner, you're in this corner. I'd be that annoying person. Like, nope, you stay in this is a contaminated space.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would last the longest.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a safe space. You would not be annoying because I was the same way. I still am to this day. Like Cody has a cold and I like went over and I'm like squirting Purell in his hand and he's like, "Can I have some Benadryl?" And I'm like, "Don't touch my hand." And I'm like dropping it in.
Yeah.
He's like, "You sleep in my bed. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely am a bit of a germaphobe. And even like you said, Laron, with COVID and we were sanitizing everything, like we sanitized our groceries when we got them.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, we Lysol our cereal.
Grocery.
Yeah, huh?
Do you remember that? You take one object out, wipe it. I would wipe the bags.
I just sprayed everything with Lysol.
We just didn't know because they were like, it's on everything. And
I am like, I use a lot of hand sanitizer and stuff like that, but I will also drop things on the floor at work and eat them. So
and I'll also like take a bite out of an apple and put it wet side down.
And like put it on the counter.
You motherfucker. You motherfucker.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right. Well, we're not going to get back into that.
Sorry, Zach.
Okay, guys, that is it. That is Cabin Fever. Thank you, Laron, for joining us. This was a lot of fun. If anyone listening out there is a fan of Cabin Fever and you want to talk more about it, let us know. You can find us all over social media, or you can email us at howimetyourmonsterpodcast@gmail.com. Coming up in our Unlucky Fucks triple feature is a classic. I'd call it a classic.
Stone cold classic.
It spawned quite a few sequels. Casey, what are we watching next?
Leprechaun.
Yeah, this is a franchise. I've seen the one with Jennifer Aniston. Is that the first one?
That's the first one.
The first one, yeah.
And I've seen clips of other ones, but I've never seen the sequel.
Same.
So I should probably make that
For March.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hey, good luck. That's very fitting.
There's a black leprechaun too, right? Like in the hood or something.
In the hood, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I need to revisit that with this current lens too now.
Yes,
sure.
There's
in
the hood and then back to the hood.
Yeah.
And then they
two
do
black ones. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then there's the requel that they did.
4 is obviously in space, so that was interesting.
Wait, 3's Vegas.
3 is Vegas.
Okay, thank you. I knew I was missing one.
So yeah, it's got some, they're fun. Like I haven't seen the hood ones or the requel, but it's got some interesting stuff. So we're gonna watch Leprechaun in honor of the upcoming St. Patrick's Day season and our Unlucky Fucks triple feature. So make sure to tune in for that. Where can our listeners find you guys on social media if they want to follow you?
I am on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
Awesome. Thank you. Laron, did you want to share any social media handles?
Yes, if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can follow me under my name, LeRon Chapman. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Black Movie Magic OKC. If you want to follow my letterbox, where I regularly write reviews,
There are
my handle.
incredible reviews, by the way. I don't mean to cut you off, but LeRon is the person to follow on Letterboxd.
I watch everything, literally everything. So, Black_Cinna_man. I also have a podcast called The Cinemetropolis that you can follow on wherever you listen to podcasts. And hopefully this year I will have a memoir coming out that I wrote with my father last year. I didn't make a movie last year like I promised myself was my resolution. I have a script in the works.
You just wrote a book.
Yeah,
I just wrote an entire memoir.
No big deal.
My dad. And it's about my very traumatic childhood into coming out to my family during a time when those things were not acceptable. And it's kind of really dealing with the stigmatization of homophobia in the Black community and how my family navigated. Some evolved, some did not with that process. So it's called Unconditional. I don't have a release date yet, but if you follow my social media handles, you will hear about it annoyingly a lot.
I saw you post about it, and I was very excited, and I cannot wait to read it, LeRon.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Danny, where can our listeners find you on social media?
You can find me on various socials like Instagram and Blue Sky at my name, Danny Salem. That's DANNYSALEMME. 2 M's like the candy. Melt in your butt, not in your hands.
Wonderful. Always love it. Always love it. And you can find me on social media at Zach Winsick. And we hope you join us again for Leprechaun to continue our Unlucky Trucks. This isn't a Maximum Overdrive podcast.
That's what I was going to say.
We hope you join us again for our continuing Unlucky Fucks triple feature. And thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.